Spite is a powerful motivator. Just ask Vince McMahon, whose booking makes up the majority of this list. I'm Adam Wilborn from What Culture, and these are 9 wrestling matches booked out of spite. Number 9, the 2005 Royal Rumble. As spitefully funny as it might be, remembering the sight of Vince McMahon no-selling a torn quad with his arse planted on the canvas like a child, that is not the 2005 Royal Rumble's meanest moment. Not least because it wasn't planned. Real spite involves a certain element of premeditation, and that was scarily evident when Daniel Puder entered the titular Battle Royal to take an on-screen hazing for some supposed crimes the year prior. The Tough Enough winner entered the match third, right as competitors number 1 and 2, Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit, were gleefully beating the crap out of each other. Naturally, they paused that conflict to sadistically smash the shout of the newbie, as did entrant number 4, drumroll please, Hardcore Holly. Puder had infamously caught Kurt Angle out during another borderline abusive Tough Enough segment the prior summer, and the locker room heavies clearly enjoyed making him pay for this apparent act of disrespect. The beating was too on the nose for its own good, and the sort of thing that thankfully won't ever happen again. Number 8, The Big Show versus Akabono. For almost all of his time in WWE, Big Show was considered overweight by his employers. It's fair to say Paul White was packing more tonnage than he had during his breakout years in WCW, but wholly unfair to suggest that he was the sort of size in keeping with sumo wrestling. Alas, this was his lot at 2005's WrestleMania 21 when he took 2 sports star Akabono in an exhibition that made him look multifariously daft. Long zooms on his dimpled and mostly exposed arse were done for the benefit of those guffawing in the gorilla position rather than any kind of artistic expression, and the match itself failed to elicit anything from an otherwise molten audience. Number 7, Tay Conti versus Santana Garrett. Friday the 16th of October 2021 brought back feelings that had laid dormant for the better part of 2 years. A super-sized SmackDown was front-loaded in an effort to throttle that Friday's Rampage during a rare overlap, resulting in 90 minutes of live head-to-head action. Both sides were magnificently petty. WWE utilized Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, and a monster Sasha Banks-Becky Lynch match, while AEW chased random magic with Bryan Danielson versus Minoru Suzuki, and not so random spite with Tay Conti versus Santana Garrett. The latter clash had some real spice. Garrett Conti was the first thing that ever defeated AEW in a viewership court hour in the earliest days of NXT and Dynamite, going head to head. With Conti now an AEW regular and Garrett available for the night, a throwback fight night saw one side land a remarkably sly jab. Number 6, Adam Cole versus Matt Riddle. It was the Black and Gold brand's biggest match at the time, and it proved to be one of the show's best ever too, but Adam Cole versus Matt Riddle was representative of something much bigger than the NXT Championship. The match was built up for that specific time because WWE were keen to try and marginalize their new competition from the off. This was night 1 of a new wrestling show, and the mandate was clear. Dynamite was to be challenged not with a show that gradually built to the biggest matches, but with the biggest matches. Predictably, the show couldn't keep doling out these massive matches on a weekly basis. The increased desperation was clear within the first year of a supposed war that ended up being somewhat of a massacre. And don't forget, if you are desperate for more wrestling content, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Number 5, Triple H versus CM Punk. The voice of the voiceless had already returned a touch too early from his transcendent WWE Championship victory at Money in the Bank, and then won a rematch against John Cena in less than clean fashion, then found himself battered by Kevin Nash and dethroned by Alberto Del Rio. Detonating a pipe bomb had started well, but suddenly he was losing way more than he was winning. The intended Night of Champions clash with Nash would have surely gone his way, but when the game stepped in for his injured mate, the figurative betting may as well have been suspended. Hunter had fumed on screen with a couple of Punk's near-the-knuckle gestures and remarks, and presumably could not bloody wait to plant him with a pedigree like all the rest. This useless result was never returned to after the fact. I mean, Hunter and Punk were teaming by the next pay-per-view, but how do you think these two are going to get on in 2024? Will Punk make it to Mania? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Number 4. Lita versus Mickie James. Trish Stratus's September 2006 WWE departure was so soaked in sincerity that almost nobody predicted it, and even fewer imagined it was the actual end. An unforgiven pay-per-view in her hometown, the beloved multi-time women's champion snared the strap yet again in a blinding battle with career rival Lita. Audiences trained to WWE's mean streak were absolutely stunned. So when Lita was suddenly back in the picture ahead of her own planned exit in November, most safely assumed things would go the same way. Wrong again. Heel Lita put over Mickie James on her way out, which would have jived with all the dignified traditions had she not been stripped of those before getting out of the building. Following the defeat, her retirement was converted into one last shaming of the woman who'd taken virtually all of the heat for the real-life situation that had occurred between her, Matt Hardy, and Edge a year prior. It was gross. Number 3. Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels. Far be it for this to be yet another journey through perhaps the most journeyed through match in wrestling history, but it's worth remembering that Vince McMahon didn't have to book the match that gave him and his top 2 performers so many headaches. McMahon's buyer's remorse upon re-signing the Hitman in 1997 may have been as evident as early as Survivor Series the prior year, commentating on Hart's return as if 6 months off had turned him into a knackered old veteran rather than the ex-WWE champion that had just comfortably gone an hour in a WrestleMania main event. McMahon seemed to be sidelining him from the off. The intentional breaking of Bret's contract in October of '97 was seen as confirmation of this skepticism towards Hart, as was the stubbornness in the booking of the Montreal match in the first place, alongside its infamous and unforgettable finish. Number 2. Team WWE versus the Alliance. Vince McMahon openly admitted to being tired of this alliance crap, this invasion crap, during a Raw promo that set up a Survivor Series final battle. He was patently as bored of this as the rest of us, even though he'd been the one booking it in the sodding first place. A 10-man tag was set, culminating in Stone Cold Steve Austin of the Alliance tussling with The Rock, WWE, and them scrapping for the umpteenth time over stakes that supposedly transformed the world as we knew it. The mere inclusion of the Rattlesnake and the Great One exposed this as a fallacy, as did the post-show Monday Night Raw. Jerry Lawler was reinstalled as a commentator. McMahon and Austin were reset as heels and babyface rivals on the original side of their divide, and ex-Alliance stars worth anything were re-established as WWE superstars looking to make the grade. Number 1. The Bloodline versus the New Day. September 2021 marked something of a zenith for AEW's bold next steps, having unveiled CM Punk, Adam Cole, and Bryan Danielson within the last 30 days, and conclusively moved forward with Hangman Page as the successor to Kenny Omega's throne. All Out 2021 was forecasted as the company's highest-selling show ever, and the fabled 7-figure viewership had become the norm. Remember that? Unsettled by all this, WWE raced ahead with the obvious Survivor Series matches 2 months early, dragging the Bloodline and now new WWE champion Big E over to Monday Night Raw for the pure and obvious sake of it. The match did perform well, but didn't arrest the slide, it never does, even after AEW slipped from their own pedestal. And if you like this video about matches booked out of spite, why not check out this one about gimmicks made out of spite as well. Thanks for watching, I'm Adam from What Culture, and I'll see you soon.